I really feel very sorry for this lady that I think, was not given the best care. This is not in any way to shame her. I'm utterly not shaming her. I think she's done the best that she could with the knowledge and resources available to her at the time. And I have absolutely no desire to hurt her feelings in any way. This is important. People are losing quality of life years dramatically.
So after that first residential treatment, I stepped down to non-Renfrew PHP and IOP. While that did help me remain stable, it didn't reinforce the UT model skills that I learned. And I was still struggling with body image and the idea that weight loss was a life goal for me.
The body image part, they should be helping you with. They should be telling you that, it's not an appropriate thing to redirect your anxious thoughts onto. Every time you have an anxious thought or feeling, you shouldn't go and stare at yourself in the mirror and think about how much you don't like it, think about how much you'd like to change it as a distraction from problems in your life, whether you're underweight or overweight or normal weight. You shouldn't be doing that, which people with all of these conditions do, as a means of distracting themselves. Unfortunately, and many clinics, they're telling her it shouldn't be a life goal to get to a healthy body weight. Do they tell the underweight people that it's not a life goal to get to a healthy weight? Because, oh, what if you go too far and overeat and become overweight? Do they say that? Do they say if you're underweight, don't try and eat more because it will turn into BED, the B, E, then D condition, which YouTube will maybe shadow ban me if I say how much people are judging you and how much you don't like your own body, or you should like your body but you can't make yourself. That's all part of the obsession to distract yourself from other issues in your life. You need to stop obsessing about that stuff and just think about practical quality of life. You deserve a good quality of life. You deserve a body that feels physically comfortable to exist in every day, that physically doesn't cause you aches and pains and exhaustion and difficulty breathing and sleep apnea and hormonal imbalances that mess with your brain and make you get dementia earlier, make your brain deteriorate much earlier. It's not about body image. That is part of the obsession of the mental illness, when you're obsessing over your body image. That needs to go away. But wanting to get to a healthy weight, everyone across the ED spectrum should aim to get to a healthy weight. It will help your brain and your mental health because you'll sleep better from either end. You'll feel so much better. Your gut microbiome will be better if you get to a healthy weight.
For a year or so, motivated by my desire to get a jaw surgery to fix my underbite, I was stable. I knew that I needed to eat properly to heal properly. Going from the jaw surgery, I saw a weight loss doctor. She put me on an appetite suppressing medication and a restrictive diet plan to lose weight. I thought I could.
Restrictive diet plan is a very negative way of wording it. I'm sure the clinic because this clinic doesn't push back on anything that she says in this whole interview. They are obviously in support of it. They call her one of their inspiration stories. A success story, as she is like doing well and she shouldn't be trying to get to a healthy weight. I don't know if they would do that on the other end. I don't see anyone very bony being called as inspiration on this site. They have people who've had that end of it and they don't allow them to be called inspirations if they look bony. I've not seen a single one. They all look reasonably healthy weight. But on this end, on the other end where you eat too much, they're fine with calling those people an inspiration, even though they are still at very much a far away from the healthy BMI range, healthy body fat index, waist to height, circumference, all of it. I never just use BMI alone, use all of them together to get a picture. And most of all, can you easily move around your body? Are you able to, without things rubbing against other things too much? Can you run without your thighs rubbing against each other and causing a chafe? Because humans are not designed to have that problem. We're supposed to be very good at running. We're supposed to be endurance runners. We persistence hunted in Africa. We didn't need a lot of body fat because we were in Africa. We didn't need it to keep us warm. We had a lot of sweat glands to make us cool down quickly. Being able to run and jump and, to be able to lightly get up and down. And the things I lost when I gained just 42 pounds heavier than I am now at 5'1", that's a significant number of pounds. That I noticed that I couldn't do all these things anymore. Things were rubbing, I was sweating, I was overheating. It's very uncomfortable. And I was upset that nobody who I knew who was overweight had ever warned me of this, except for a few people I had overheard talking about chafing. But it's just so it's so suppressed. People don't want to talk about how uncomfortable being overweight makes them feel. I'm not even judging for that. I understand why people don't want to be seen as moaning about something that they've caused in any, whether it's, oh, I've got a hangover because I drank too much last night. People don't want to be seen as the person who's moaning about something they've caused. But I do think there needs to be more honesty about how this makes you feel compared to when you are a healthy weight. And as someone who has been a healthy weight and overweight and briefly underweight, not for these kinds of reasons, I can tell you, you feel better when you're in the healthy range for your own particular skeletal structure.
Could make losing weight and recovery work together, but that backfired.
They
And I
can. They
spiraled
need to work together. Would they allow a patient to say this about gaining weight to be healthy?
into a relapse. It took a few months to be
But is it a relapse if you never really recovered, if you just went from one part of the cycle to the other? The restriction is part of the cycle in bed for most people, at least it seems. Most people have some restrictive phases, and again, it is done it's not done for the same reasons as the reductive side, where they don't intend to ever binge. Sometimes some of them do, but they don't do it with knowing that they're going to eat more at the end. They intend to never eat that much ever again. Whereas someone with this, it's a cycle. They're in a cycle, and you've only transferred. And I did a video on someone who actually did transfer from a bed to Anna, and it's completely different mentality. They actually get underweight and stay there. Whereas most people in this situation, they're to only treat the restrictive side as if the only problem is the restrictive side, or that you can cure the binge side just by curing the restrictive side. It doesn't take into account the way that the cycle actually works in bed. That's different to someone who binges when they are underweight. It's a different mechanism. It's not primitive instinct taking over and making you do it. Or it could be still to some degree that, but the mentality when you start on a silly diet that is going to make you really hungry because it's so extreme, the silly diet, right? The intention is for it to fail in bed. At least unconsciously, semi-consciously, this diet's going to fail, and if it's really extreme, you might be using it just like this to say, please don't make me go on a diet, don't make me eat less at all because I can't do it responsibly.
And finally, the last part is, we will say, unrealistic diets. Very unrealistic. And oftentimes, almost intentionally unrealistic so that they will fail, because failure is also a part of it. But that's why there has to be that aspect. Otherwise, there's no failure to then obsess over. Is you do something that's designed to fail so that it will not, you won't ever actually get there, and then you can feel all sad about not getting there, and then you just kind of do it over and over again, basically. That's basically what it is. Or then you'll be like, I tried it 10 years ago, and you'll hold on to that diet you did 10, 20, we'll hear millennial women talk about Special K breakfast back in 2005, and they haven't really even dieted ever since, but they'll still hold on to that memory and use it as an excuse to hinge. The standards are crazy, and for people that are not used to this kind of thing, you guys will hear it and be like, oh, that's so sad, or oh my gosh, yes, I totally get it, or like, I want to be nice and I want to be empathetic to you, but it's not real. You're not traumatized from a diet you had 20 years ago. That doesn't work that way. But they will say that because you use the memory of something that was overly reductive to continue in the present.
But did you ever really try to do it responsibly, or did you always go to the crash diets? Because that is a bed thing and a BN thing. You want it as a coping mechanism. It's a distraction from other things, and you don't want to give it up. That makes sense. But these clinics should be explaining that to you as the whole thing is a distraction, including the staying overweight, including the having an overweight body to obsess over and blame for things that maybe it's not even to blame for socially, and to have the overweight body to use as an excuse to, oh, I can't go and do all these things. If you're a more avoidant, introverted person, maybe you use it to avoid various things that you can't do because of your body physically. There's a couple of different things get dragged into it over time, where it gets used in all these ways as a coping mechanism, where you're not obsessing about what that means about you, about how proud you feel of what you are or are not eating, and how shameful you feel about those things, and how you feel about your body. It's not the point. It's about what can your body do functionally. Can you get your body to a point where it feels good physically, feels good to have a body instead of feeling uncomfortable to have a body. It will include, you won't necessarily get to a healthy weight immediately, but you will be on the way. You'll be progressing towards a healthy weight, whether upwards or downwards, and you will be doing it without this obsessive easy. You just feel like your body isn't a prison, isn't like this oppressive burden, literally a burden upon you, like a load that you're lugging around all the time. It feels like your body is something for you to use, and it's something that you use to get around in. It's no longer something that is trapping you and suffocating you and keeping you sort of unable to get around as easy as you want to. It feels like more like you're on a bicycle, that you're like taking this bicycle around that's helping you, or a little scooter, and it feels less like you're having to like carry a sack on your back. Like it feels more like a burden, a body, when it gets more and more overweight. And when you're underweight, it feels like a very painful squeaky bicycle. Painful, literally painful to sit down on. So you need to get to the point where you can healthily lose weight if you need to, gain weight if you need to, without obsessing. People, as long as they're not on a diet trying to lose weight, then they're fine. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. You wouldn't use that logic for the other way round, would you? You wouldn't. I don't see them doing that, these clinics. I haven't yet. Wouldn't be surprised if some of them do, but I haven't yet seen them say no one who is underweight should try to gain weight because they might become overweight. It doesn't, but the other way around, you're happy to say that. It doesn't make any sense. Recovery includes being able to lose weight in an objective, rational way where your emotions aren't coming into it, where you're not overly emotional about your body, where you can acknowledge, oh, you know what, this doesn't look great about me. Like you can acknowledge that your toe doesn't look great. Like I've got a weird little toe, right? I rarely ever think about it. I've got like a round as hell head. Like my actual skull is getting rounder as I get older. It's part of my genetic condition, right? As my body got slimmer, my head only got rounder because I was getting into that age where it starts to get rounder and rounder. And I don't obsess over it. I don't really care that much. That's body neutrality. I've never used anything I don't like about myself to obsess over it. I don't like the fact that I'm not good at maths. It's annoying, but I don't obsess over it. It should be in the same category as if you didn't like that you were getting older and you didn't like how you looked when you were old. Oh, I don't like that I've got a wrinkle. I don't like that I've got a grey hair. Most people don't obsess over that. You can acknowledge that it doesn't look perfect, that it's, you wish it wasn't happening, and yet not have it ruin your life. In the same way, you should feel the same way about any physical thing that is not aesthetically pleasing to the average human, and especially yourself, right? Because we are instinctively drawn to certain traits and states in the human body, including like certain age range, hair quality, skin quality. Weight is just another one of those things. Physical fitness and athleticism, just another one of those things we instinctively tend, most of us, to favor a certain range of. And it doesn't mean we don't obsess over those other things about age and baldness. Most people don't get obsessed about those things, but people choose to obsess over this because it's a convenient distraction, because it's all encompassing. It can be about how much you're stuffing yourself so that you can't feel emotions anymore. You're just thinking about the acid reflux and the distension and all the problems before and after you do this, and you get all the both ends painful, unpleasant things happening.
People aren't always aware of that because you can kind of dissociate, which is something else. I'll tell you that part of it is crazy, but that's why I try to talk about it, because I want you guys that do have that issue to understand that that's what's happening. There is a fervence behind it. There is this like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh type of feeling behind what you're doing. It's not just like I'm gonna eat this bag of cookies while I'm sitting here. That's more so overeating. Okay? So learn the difference between the two, because there's different ways of dealing with them, I guess you could say. And you can have both. That's the beautiful thing about being smo. You can overeat all the time and have hinge at the same time. So they're not mutually exclusive to each other either.
That's a distraction, and so is the feeling very, very hungry, and just sort of almost making yourself feel good about how hungry you are able to make yourself stay. That's all. It's all the distraction, along with the body obsession, the status and society beliefs about how society treats you one way or the other.
And you can lie to yourself too. And people are really uncomfortable with that when I talk about this issue, because we are really not equipped in the United States to handle like self-deception. You can kind of understand what that has struggled with the closet. You can understand the level of self-deception involved with how much you're eating or why you're eating. But for your average straight person in America, I don't think it's talked about very much. It's very much like, well, if you tell me that how I feel isn't real, then you're gaslighting me, or you're a narcissist, or whatever. That's like very popular these days, which it makes it hard to talk about because people are like, no, I want to be empathetic, and we have to believe people all the time. Yes, but when it comes to this issue, remember that a person's size is evidence. A person's behaviors in front of you is evidence. It's not just about what they say, because people lie in this problem, and they're even lying to themselves.